We begin in New York City, where Donald Trump's historic hush money trial is entering the final stretch today. After more than 4 weeks and nearly 24 witnesses, closing arguments are set to begin this morning.
There are some holes in the prosecution's case, and I think both sides here are going to have a shot at a victory.
Trump faces 34 counts of falsifying business documents in relation to hush money payments to adult film star Stormy Daniels before the presidential election in 2016. Now, the closing arguments are expected to last this whole day. Donald Trump continues to deny any wrongdoing. Joining me now with a preview is Richard Davis, former assistant Watergate special prosecutor. Richard, good morning. Thanks for being with us. So each side has a chance to wrap up their story today. What are you expecting to hear from the prosecution and from the defense?
Well, from the prosecution side, I think they have to begin by acknowledging what I'll call the elephant in the room. That is that making it clear to the jury that they understand that this jury is being asked to do an extraordinary thing. They're being asked to judge a former president of the United States and be explicit that we understand that that is difficult, but we ask you to look at the evidence. And then I think they will meticulously go through the evidence. The strongest part of the evidence turns out to be the fact that these payments were linked to his presidential election run. I would stress, that Michael Cohen is the second thing, who's going to be the linchpin of a lot of this, that his testimony doesn't stand alone. David Pecker, others support his testimony, documents support his testimony. And they're just going to have to be very clear that while they understand that Michael Cohen is a flawed individual, that his motivation here is to tell the truth. He's supported because on the issue of Donald Trump's awareness of the false business records, it's basically Alan Weisselberg's notes and Michael Cohen's testimony. So I think they're going to have to buttress Michael Cohen in every way possible, by every piece of paper, everything that says, yes, this man, he may have been flawed, he may have lied in the past on behalf of Donald Trump, but he's telling the truth on this core issue.
Now, what about the defense? I don't think you and I had a chance to talk about this, but I know a lot of analysts were surprised that they only called 2 witnesses, and the second one, the final one, was a disaster.
Yes, that witness, only helped actually to buttress Michael Cohen. I think the challenge for the defense is their client. What I mean by that is, if they, I think, were really just focused on how do we at least get one juror on our side, if not get a full acquittal, they would not have a scattershot approach. They would not be challenging every fact. They would say, look, remember, jury, at the core of this, what this is, it's about a false entry in a business record. And Donald Trump may have done a lot of things, but the evidence is insufficient to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he had any real role or any role in having those business records say that these monies paid to Michael Cohen were for legal work as a legal retainer. Because everything about Stormy Daniels, whether he had sex with her or not, that's nice. But the real issue is, did the government prove that Donald Trump had sufficient knowledge about how these monies were going to be put into the business records? Now, that's what I think they should do. I'm sure their client, as in the opening statement, will want them to absolutely deny that he had sex, will actually want to challenge everything. And to me, the more they challenge, the weaker their argument is. So we'll have to see how this plays out.
Okay, so my final question then, 34 counts. The jury can go one of 3 ways: guilty, acquit, or there could be a hung jury. All it takes for the defense to see a victory here is one juror. What are your thoughts on what is likely to happen? Do you want to make a prediction, Richard?
Well, first of all, they could split, because there are some of these counts where Donald Trump did not sign the check and they're weaker counts. So they could convict on some counts. I think maybe I'm being hopeful here. I think it's likely there'll be a conviction, but I wouldn't be shocked if there is a hung jury. I would be extraordinarily surprised if there's an acquittal. But remembering, the defense only needs one, the prosecution needs 12.
It's going to be an interesting few days. Richard Davis, thank you so much. Richard is a former assistant Watergate special prosecutor.